Welcome to Dimensional Shift, where we explore and actively deprogram ourselves, seek the truth of reality through expanding our perceptions, and focus on full remembrance of our true selves. As we begin to connect to our true selves, we will also see the truth of this illusory reality and the way it controls us through our manipulated perceptions. As soon as we fully remember our true selves, we will also see the enemy for what it is and how to rebalance the system by freeing ourselves and assisting others to do the same, creating a domino effect into the evolution of human consciousness. Hey, and welcome back to Dimensional Shift. This week we're going to be talking about the system and the ways this world has been weaponized against us to keep us unhappy, uncertain, afraid, and miserable. So put on your rose-colored glasses because you may need it a little bit today. It's a heavy episode, but it's going to be good and enlightening, especially if you're starting to wake up. So we all know that there is the systems or the powers that be, right? They have designed this system to keep us unhappy, afraid, miserable, uncertain of the future, chaotic. That's what they do to us. And in return, we produce something called loosh, which is what they feed on. That's the energetic release that happens whenever we have those lower frequencies going. This is why we can't say that karma is necessarily true, because we see every day good things happen to people who don't deserve them, in quotes, right? Bad people or people who don't deserve them. And then bad things happen to good people. And none of it really makes sense the way that it's put out there. And so we've just started chalking it up to past lives, which we don't normally have too much access to. But I really think that that's just rationalization for these things that don't make sense. And they're also designed to keep you blaming yourself. Karma is designed to keep you blaming yourself. What did I do wrong that I deserve this? And then that feeds into the meritocracy of if they have a good life and if they have good things, then they must deserve it. And so therefore, what am I doing wrong that I'm not deserving of it? It's kind of a cycle, like a victim blaming cycle. Our programming that we follow now, those tracks were laid very long ago. We've been pushed in a certain direction, limiting other options. And they do this with subliminal messages. If you see the really kind of cheesy 80s movie, They Live, that will show you exactly how the world around us is designed. It's really, really quite fascinating. The movie itself is take it or leave it, like most movies are, but the message is there. And it's that everything we see around us is designed to make us feel a certain way. And normally that's want, fear, lack, better than, worse than, etc. And it's meant to keep us buying and keep us in the consumerism system and keep us chasing something that's not real so that we don't chase the real thing, which is the awakening, right? Our psychology is used against us every day. Most people are very aware of this. You go to the movies, you listen to music, it's emotional manipulation. Now, in general, manipulation isn't necessarily a bad thing unless it's used with malintent. But psychology is used against us every day. The messages that we receive in those movies and in that music, when they're put to a certain theme of music or in a certain script of a movie, can inspire us to do things that maybe we wouldn't normally do. Now, there is some good music and movies that will lead us in the direction that we should be going, and I contend that those authors and musicians are very spiritually awoken, and they do that on purpose. Just like, say, Pink Floyd, they were very aware of what was going on, and so their music reflects that, and they're like clues hidden throughout history. Most of our programming is completed by age 10, and it's finished up by the time we leave high school, about 18. Until age 10, our nuclear family, parents, siblings have a very direct influence on how we are programmed. After that, it goes more into the friends circle. But the friend circle is also programmed by your family. There's that. And so we get a lot of programming that then we have to unwind the rest of our lives. And most of it is meant to corral us in a certain direction. That moves into conditioning, which is a similar but separate type of programming, I guess you could say. It's kind of the same thing. It's meant to influence how you live in the world. So there's conditioning is by others or the system working through others in your life. So this would be like familial and societal expectations, such as the school, job, marriage, retirement cycle, if you are so lucky to have those options. When you are a child, most of us are immediately put into some kind of educational setting, and that immediately starts the indoctrination process. And so then what comes after that? You go to college, you get a job, get married, and you do your job for 40 years, and then you retire, and then you die. Like, that's the social script that we live by in general. And it's really kind of sad that that's the tracks that we've been led to, because it's a very unhappy life, and it's very almost soul-destroying depending on what job or career you end up with. There's also cultural norms. For example, what you eat for meals and your diet. Those are decided by your culture, which is, they're decided by your family, but your family makes that choice based on the culture. And so this is just another type of conditioning, and it again pushes you in a certain direction. So in America, for example, right now we have the huge obesity problem. That's conditioning that was pushed on people in like the 50s and 60s to eat more grains, and then the junk food wave in the 80s and 90s. And now we have it here, this obesity crisis, and that's all based on what's acceptable in the culture. If you deviate from any of these, then you become the outsider. And then you have personal conditioning, which would be how these powers that be tie you to toxic people, like narcissists and things like that. And oftentimes it's done through emotional or financial dependence, and getting out of the relationship is extremely, extremely difficult. There's also something called feedback loops, and that is where something self-perpetuates itself. And so there are 4 kinds of loops, but they kind of overlap a little bit too. So you have a reward loop, and that would be like you do something, you get a reward, and so you do it again. It's self-perpetuating. So for example, you buy 5 lottery tickets, you win a free lottery ticket one out of the 5, and so you go and you buy 5 more tickets. There's the punishment loops, which would make you want to stop a behavior. For example, withdrawing is too hard, so you keep drinking. Withdrawals is a punishment, even though you want to stop. It's such a hard process that you just keep staying in it. And then there's an aggravating loop, which would be something like needing harder drugs or kinkier sex to get the dopamine hit you need or think you need, right? It ramps up each time because you're getting less of something. So these types of programming and conditioning and the loops are in everybody's life. However, those of us who are spiritual and are awakening are also targeted for extra hard stuff. We often have what are called handlers. That's not my word. I don't really like it, but it is what it is right now. They're called handlers, and they are basically like having an agent assigned to you to monitor you and try and keep you suppressed and to get you to go back to sleep. This is why we have harder than usual lives to go through, and they basically just go at you until eventually you give in or overcome. There's several choice points throughout your life. This is why so many spiritual people go through so much trauma and yet leave it to the spiritual person to find ways to grow and evolve from it and make themselves better people. The goal of all of this life here and everything we go through here, all the programming and everything and getting free and awakening, the goal is to deprogram everything that you have running in your mind. Get rid of the conditioning. Start to recognize the feedback loops so that you can stop them when they start happening. That's the real end goal, because there's a lot of theories about what happens when we die, about, don't follow the light and you're going to have to say these certain words so the archons release you, or you have to fight them or fight for your will or whatever it is. But I just think that the less they can use, the less they have on you to manipulate you, and the fewer tethers you have tying you to earth, the more easily it's going to be to just go through. Like, for example, if you die and you had said, this is something I believe in and I am willing to die for it. Whatever the belief is, it doesn't really matter. That's something that they can use to draw you back in. It's a tether that will keep you tied to earth, and they will manipulate that after you die to suck you back in. And so the more free you can be on a soul level, and the better you know yourself on a soul level, then the more easily you'll just be able to like walk out the door. There's not going to be anything they have to hold against you. It's ultimate sovereignty. So that's the end goal for all of this, for all of us, is breaking down the system and shifting the paradigm so much that when we die, hopefully after a long life and very naturally and peacefully, then when we die, we'll just be able to release back to whether you want to go back to another planet or a different body or back to source or whatever it is. You'll just be able to walk out and go without getting sucked back in here or being put into another prison planet. One last thing before I end the podcast, I do want to mention that we have a new oracle reader on our Dimensional Shift Discord. Her name is Katie. She runs Moonzilla Tarot. You can find her on facebook.com/Moonzilla Tarot. And she's doing weekly tarot readings, oracle readings for us in the Discord, and she's doing a great job. So I want to give her a shout out. If you'd like to learn more about her, head to her Facebook page or come join us in the Discord. If you found this episode helpful or insightful, please share it with a friend and leave a review or comment. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I host twice weekly open discussions on the podcast topic on our Discord server. If you'd like to join, head to dimensionalshifter.com/Discord. If you're on Reddit, come join the subreddit r/Dimensional Shifters or send me a DM. My username is Dimensional Shifter. Keep deprogramming, keep connecting, keep listening to your intuition. This is it. This is what we've been searching for our whole lives. Connection to our true selves.